Hey everybody, Adam Savage from Tested here with Brandon Alinger from Prop Store. Hello, sir.
Hey, Adam.
You've seen many videos with us here, and we've covered things that they are auctioning off. Have also covered things from their personal collection here at Prop Store, and that's what this one is.
Yeah, this is one of mine, actually. This is Jen, original Jen costume from the Dark Crystal.
I'm gobsmacked by this. I'm just going to start by saying it's like we talk about textiles and fabric weathering in a film, but we don't often talk about custom-made textiles, and this is some of the finest example I have ever seen in a film costume, and it's a miniature.
Yeah, that's good. That's good observation, actually, because all this is custom work, right? Put together by hand. And I love, the earth tones, everything earth tone, and then just the different like suedes and leathers that you have here in the tunic, the belt, the layers on the tunic. There's a lot going on with it.
I feel like my friends at Weta Workshop would feel so much kinship with this because of the amount of world building deeply embedded into every bead and every stitch of this incredible costume. It does not feel like something built for a movie.
And for me, world building, absolutely the best part of the Dark Crystal. Yeah. Brian Froud, right, the lead designer, so much of it comes from his visions. Things like the Mystics, I know existed in paintings that he had done before the Dark Crystal even got started. So it's like, it really is Brian Froud's world put onto screen. And then, of course, his wife, Wendy Froud, worked on it. She worked on the Gelflings prominently, and many, many other creative people. You were talking earlier about some of the Muppet folks that you know who were also involved with Dark Crystal. So it's this amazing creative endeavor from that time, you know, from making that film in 1981 or something. Wow.
And friends of mine who are Muppeteers have told me one of the great things about the era of Jim Henson and his directing was he wouldn't call a shot done until everyone was happy with it. It was a development, right? It wasn't just shoot it and move on, shoot it and move on. And this shows that kind of care and attention to detail. I'm looking at even the strings that hold together his tunic are themselves braided suede. Same thing down here in these beautiful leather boots. Every stitch is hand done. There's not a machine stitch on this thing.
Yeah, and a lot of functionality built into it too. I know I've heard the puppeteers talk in interviews about how the reason all this stuff dangles off the wrist is so you can get a little puppeteer wire in there to operate so the costume's providing function, right? It's allowing the puppeteer to have some tricks to operate the character.
Now tell me about how you acquired this and the condition it was in.
Okay, so this came from someone who worked on the film. They had it stored away for a long time. They actually had with it, or it was part of a puppet body, but there was no head. And the body was actually, it had some cable mechanisms, the arms and feet and such. There's this shot early on in the film where when we meet Jen, he's naked for whatever reason. He's just naked in the film. This was the naked Jen body. So with Jen genitals, and it was all there. Jen genitals, hashtag that one.
Jen.
So I felt like the body itself just kind of like, we shouldn't throw it away, but kind of a weird thing to display. So I wanted to get it to just the costume, and the costume actually had a fair amount of damage just from time, maybe insects, all that sort of thing. It had been
improperly stored.
Possibly. And you know, these things are hard to look after for that many years, and unfortunately, time had taken its toll. But there's a group that we work with in the UK. Their name is Janie Lightfoot, is the name of the lead person, and they do a lot of museum restorations. They've done some other work for us on other costume pieces. They led the restoration on this. They actually did some fantastic work sort of infilling the material here on the top of the tunic, replacing some of the beads. And if I showed you before and afters, you'd go, wow, look at that.
Now, you were telling me that there was some extensive reconstruction, and I'm looking at this as close as I can look at stuff.
It's hard to pick up on.
I can't see where it might have happened.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I got it also. And obviously, when we do restoration, we try to be as faithful and as sympathetic as possible. We don't want to change it. We don't want to rebuild it. Yeah. We wanted to keep all that original DNA as much as possible. You know, you can tell there's some fading to the body of the tunic here. And actually one piece had to be recreated, which is this one. So if you just look at that wrist wrap compared to, you can see how this one's a bit more tatty, the original one from 40 years ago.
But their reconstruction is intensely
pretty good,
close.
Right? Pretty good, yeah.
I mean, someone has to spend hours and hours and hours and hours sort of putting this whole structure in their head in order to replicate it.
Yeah, it's not something I would know how to do, so it's pretty impressive work. And you can tell on the pants here, like, see where this was sort of chewed up.
Oh, yeah,
and it's been fabric backed now, basically, to jersey line it.
Oh, that's amazing.
I think we actually flopped the pants back to front because they were more presentable in the back, and you could kind of get away with it. They aren't really any different. And then the cape is original, too. And the cape, I don't think you see much in the film, but the cape's kind of a beautiful piece just in itself.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the stitching on the cape is just insane. these beautiful long stitches all going up, creating this length and this tower.
And again, probably some functionality to it. It's helping hide Jim Henson's arm in Jen, right?
Wow. I must say, wow, look at this. Look at the backside. So gorgeous. I'm really loving the display you've chosen with the head here.
Yeah, no, thank you for commenting on that. We should give a shout out to our friend, Tom Spina. So Tom Spina just did the restoration work on this, and the head and hands, we took some inspiration from actually Warner Brothers and the mannequins that they do at their museum, where they will do like a low detail representation of the character's head, and that's what this is trying to be. We basically started with a 3D scan of an original face skin, which was a little bit torn up, a little bit distorted, and then Tom and his team of digital sculptors went in and created the hair, but trying to be very low detail, like not trying to be photorealistic.
Not trying to pull too much of your focus. It's really clear when I look at it that the focus here is on the costume, not on these parts, and yet they fit in perfectly.
It's kind of a cool way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always also trying to figure out how to display my stuff on mannequins, which is never trivial.
Yeah. But if you picture this costume set up on a little mannequin like this without a head, it's kind of like
it loses some of the magic.
Especially because this is it's not a human head, it's a creature head or character head. It's like, where's the head? So it felt like it needed something on the top of it without stealing the focus from the costume itself.
The Muppet film and The Dark Crystal, along with Empire Strikes Back, were the only 3 movies as a kid I went back and saw a second time in the theater.
Really?
The world building of this film in particular still informs my aesthetic sensibilities. Aughra's orrery set is one of the most beautiful sets that has ever been made for a fantasy.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome thing. I think somewhere there's a little model of it that's in a museum, maybe one of those puppet museums like in Georgia. I think they have somewhere still the original study model of it. But I know what you're talking about. It's awesome.
I could show you pictures. I actually made my own version of it probably in 1996, and then traded it to a special effects guy I worked with.
A model of it?
Not of that one in particular, but I made an orrery totally inspired by it. I'll send you some pictures.
All right,
really
very
fun.
cool. Yeah.
Brandon, this is an amazing piece. It is so gorgeous, and I just love the display.
Thank you. For me, it's like I just love the creativity that existed in movies in that era.
Yeah.
And you watch it today, and it's like, look, there's things that you could be critical of, sure, but the ambition that is up there on the screen is amazing, just amazing.
100%. If you haven't watched The Dark Crystal, this is your opportunity. We say you're welcome for introducing you to this incredible franchise. And you're right, the early 80s are one of the most fertile and amazing periods of filmmaking in the last 100 years, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did a more recent Dark Crystal also, which was actually pretty good as well. The Netflix show. I don't know if you watched that one.
I have not yet watched it. I've been afraid to be disappointed, but I've heard that it's great.
I was pleasantly surprised. It was better than I thought it would be, especially considering they tried to go for a long runtime. I think they did 8 or 10 episodes or something, and each was 40 minutes or an hour. So a lot of screen time, but actually held up really well. And they went back to Brian Froud. He was there again, leading the visuals. Amazing. And I think it shows on screen. So yeah, fun franchise, Dark Crystal, and it'd be interesting to see if they do more of it in the future.
Oh, thank you so much for showing this to me. I just love seeing this kind of thing up close, man.
Yeah. Hey, always good to see you.